Is Australia a country or a continent? If you've ever wondered whether Australia is a continent or a country, then you're not alone. Many of us have this question in mind, and this is what we will be discussing in this video. Australia is both a country and a continent. It is kind of confusing when you hear it at first, but there are valid reasons as to why it is true. But let us first know where exactly it is located, because its geographical location plays a significant role in answering this question. Where exactly is Australia? Australia is located in the southeastern part of the Indian Ocean, south of Indonesia and Papua New Guinea. The Australian continent consists of the mainland as well as the island of Tasmania, which lies to the south of mainland Australia across the Bass Strait. Although Australia is the world's smallest continent, it is also the sixth largest country in terms of land area. The total land area of Australia is 7,682,300 square kilometers. It has a population of 25,422,788 and has one of the highest standards of living in the world, with an average annual income per person of $60,000. What makes Australia a continent? Most people consider there to be 7 continents: Europe, Asia, North and South America, Africa, Oceania, which includes Australia, and Antarctica. But it is hard to define a continent. The definition of a continent is a big landmass that is continuous and distinct from other landmasses separated by water. However, this definition presents some problems. For example, some continents are not separated by oceans, like Europe and Asia, North and South America. Australia is one of the 7 continents according to popular opinion. It is surrounded by water on all sides, which fulfills the requirement for being distinct from other landmasses. Therefore, it can be said that Australia meets the criteria for being classified as a continent better than many other continents. What makes Australia a country? The Commonwealth of Australia was established in 1901 when the 6 British colonies of the continent were granted independence from the United Kingdom by the British Parliament. As a dominion of the British Empire, Australia's foreign policy was still dictated by the UK government. In 1931, however, the UK enacted the Statute of Westminster, which granted Australia and other British Empire dominions responsibility over their own foreign policy. Australia implemented this statute in 1942. Since then, Australia has been a sovereign nation with its own independent government. The capital city of Australia is Canberra, and its legal system is based on English common law. Australia is a member of several international organizations, including the United Nations, UN, World Trade Organization, WTO, International Monetary Fund, IMF, and World Bank Group. Additionally, it maintains close ties with countries such as New Zealand, Canada, and Papua New Guinea through various bilateral agreements. Administrative divisions. The Commonwealth of Australia is a constitutional monarchy, which means the British monarch is head of state but plays primarily a ceremonial function. Real power belongs with the Australian people and their chosen representatives. Australia is a federation like the United States, meaning that it is made up of several smaller states that have some degree of autonomy while still being under the jurisdiction of the federal government. There are 6 states in Australia: New South Wales, Queensland, South Australia, Tasmania, Victoria, Western Australia, and 10 territories. The Australian Constitution gives these states some authorities, while the federal government in Canberra has others. For example, the states are responsible for healthcare and education, while the federal government is responsible for defense and foreign affairs. This system allows for a balance of power between the different levels of government and prevents any one level from having too much control. The Australian government has a total of 10 territories, including the mainland territory of Australia. The other 9 territories are either autonomous or directly under federal jurisdiction. The federal government has handed Canberra and the Northern Territory limited self-governance powers. Due to their large populations, the Australian government treats these 2 territories as states. Another territory, Norfolk Island, had self-governing rights until 2015. There are 8 other territories that the federal government controls. Federal government. The Australian Constitution was ratified in 1901, creating a federal system of government. This means that there are two levels of government in Australia, the federal government and the state governments. The federal government is responsible for matters that affect the whole country, such as defense and foreign affairs, while the state governments are responsible for matters that affect their individual states, such as education and transport. There are three branches of government in Australia: the executive, legislative, and judicial. The executive branch is made up of the Prime Minister and Cabinet, who are responsible for governing the country. The legislative branch is made up of Parliament, which passes laws. The judicial branch is made up of the High Court, which interprets laws. The Parliament of Australia is bicameral, meaning it has two houses, the House of Representatives and the Senate. The House of Representatives is made up of 150 members, each representing an electoral division within their state or territory. The Senate is made up of 76 members, with each state having 12 senators regardless of population size. Also, the way the Australian legal system works is a lot like how the federal court system in the United States works. The High Court of Australia is similar to the Supreme Court of the US. Australia's state governments are very similar to the federal government in how they are set up. Because of this, each of these groups has its own separate government, legislature, and courts. Economy. Australia's economy is worth about 1.32 trillion US dollars, which makes it the 13th largest in the world and one of the richest in the Asia-Pacific region. According to the 2021 Index of Economic Freedom, Australia's economy is also the third freest in the world. Australia has free trade agreements with 15 countries, including the United States, China, Japan, South Korea, and the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN. These agreements allow for increased trade between Australia and these other countries, which helps to stimulate economic growth. In recent years, Australia's economy has been doing well overall. However, there have been some challenges during this time as well. For example, in 2020, there was a downturn due to the coronavirus pandemic causing global economic recession. Their economy showed some signs of revival in 2021. National identity. Aboriginal Australians are the original inhabitants of the Australian continent and its nearby islands. The Aboriginal people consist of many different tribes, each with their own distinct language, culture, and way of life. Today, there are an estimated 700,000 Aboriginal people living in Australia. While the majority of Aboriginal people live in urban areas, there are still a significant number who live in remote communities where they continue to maintain their traditional lifestyle. Australia's people are very proud of their history and achievements, especially the fact that convicts and people from working class were able to build a modern, egalitarian society in a harsh and hostile environment. People often think of them as casual and laid back because they don't like things that are flashy or seem to be trying too hard. Good day, the traditional greeting between mates and shelas that is now known around the world adds to this idea. Good day. People often say that they have a sardonic, ironic, and self-depreciating sense of humor, and their tastes in current trends and entertainment are not very different from those in Europe or North America. Australia has a lot of festivals and people come from all over the world to attend them. The Sydney Festival, which takes place in January and includes concerts, theatre, and fireworks, the Adelaide Festival of Culture, which happens every 2 years in March, and the Melbourne Festival are three important arts events that happen throughout the year in October. Aboriginal culture and art are celebrated at a number of events in Broome, such as the Barunga and Cultural Sports Festival held in June and Stompin' Ground hosted in October. Conclusion. So we've covered a lot of ground here. I've talked about how Australia is both a continent and a country. Australia is one of the few countries in the world that perfectly fits the definition of a continent. Most other continents are not even physically separated but are considered separate continents. On the other hand, it fits the definition of a country as well because it has a government, it can take its own decisions, and has a very distinct national and cultural identity. What are your thoughts on this? Let us know in the comment section. Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe, comment, and turn on the notification bell. This is Learning Canteen.